Welcome to Asgard Gaming. Recently I purchased a new NVMe M.2 drive that I wanted to shed some light on. The branding, as you can see here, is Asgard AN4. Let's get right into it. We'll start with the unboxing. As you can see, we have the removable cover here. Before we unbox it, let's talk about specs a little bit. This is a PCI Express Gen 4x4 M.2 NVMe. It does use the new Integrate 5236 controller, which is a lot different than most of the other drives you see out there, using Phison controllers. Samsung makes their own controller, as well as Western Digital. It does have Yangtze River storage with what they call X-Stacking 2.0, 128 layer YMTC TLC 3D NAND flash memory. It does have 1 GB independent cache. The terabytes written for this drive is 700 with 1.5 million hours. The read speed, as you can see on the box, says 7500. Write speed is not listed on here, but on their site they listed at 5500 megabytes a second. It does come installed standard with an 8 centimeter square cooler with thermal pads on the top and bottom. A 5-year warranty, as you can see there at the bottom. Here is the box that it comes in. It's got this sheath that you open up here. Once you remove that, it has a magnetic flap up front, which you just open. And on the inside you have your user guide. It's always nice to have. One thing that I did find that I really like that they provide, you can see it is a design concept from the artist and with the artist's name. It's a nice little touch. Most people don't do this. Actually, I've never seen anybody do this. I really like it. It makes it stand out from the rest. Also, it does come with a magnetic screwdriver. I use this to remove my Sabrent drive and replace and put in the new AN4 drive. The Sabrent drive went down to my bottom NVMe location, which will be running off my controller, and the top slot, which is my CPU slot, will be the Asgard AN4. I do apologize, I already installed the AN4 drive, but you can see it does come right here. Now, one thing I really like is this box is built extremely well, and it holds everything in here extremely tight. So during shipping, movement, anything like that, the product is not going to get damaged. Now, I will post some screenshots that I did take with the NVMe drive out. You can see them coming up right here. Let's get into a brief comparison between the Asgard AN4 and the Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus. I did 3 tests on these. I did them 3 times and averaged them out, and they all were done on a fresh install of Windows with the minimal amount of drivers installed, no BIOS changes, as well as both were installed in the CPU, direct CPU NVMe slot location, so there's no variation. You can see in disk mark the AN4 read up to 7,277 megabytes a second, and the Sabrent Rocket read up to 7,103. For ATTO benchmark, the AN4 read 6,780, and the Sabrent Rocket 6,970. For the AS SSD reading, the AN4 was 5,806, and the Sabrent Rocket 4 was 5,783. As you can see, the Asgard did win 2 out of 3 of the tests here. Didn't quite hit 7,500 megabytes a second. This will all depend on your setup. I have seen other users who've posted some screenshots where they've actually reached 7,500 megabytes read. Let's move on to the right. As far as writing goes, megabytes a second, and the disk mark test, The AN4 had 5,552. That is actually faster than what their specifications are. The Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus was 5,286. For ATTO, the AN4 was 5,491 megabytes a second, where the Sabrent Rocket was 5,019 megabytes a second. As far as SSD, the Asgard AN4 was 5,190 megabytes a second, right, where the Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus was 4,940. You can see the Asgard AN4 won all three of these tests by a pretty good margin. Will you see real world performance difference with these numbers? Probably not. Maybe if you're moving large files or a bunch of files at once, as far as the writing goes, you may notice some speed difference, but outside of that, these numbers are definitely better, and if I was to have to choose a drive, I would go with the Asgard AN4 just based on numbers solely alone. As far as the Asgard AN4 goes, for boot up, from a clean boot up was 34 seconds, and from a regular shutdown and startup it was 23 seconds. So boot time did improve with the Asgard AN4. That is one of the reasons why I'm definitely leaving it as my main CPU NVMe drive. In conclusion, this is one extremely fast NVMe drive. I do know they will be making a 2 terabyte version of this. I do expect the write speeds to increase from that point, probably a little over the 6,000 range, which will be very nice to have. You'll notice this drive outdoes a Sabrent and almost all the tests except the ATTO tests and reading. Well, that's it for today. This is Lewis with A-Series Gaming. Till next time, Skål!